welcome to another episode of Getting Hammered. I'm your host, Mary Katherine Ham, and I'm here with my co-host, Vic Matus of the Washington Free Beacon. We are your morning show for any hour. We are in the last 2 weeks of this election, so we're pretty much talking about that. We're going to try to touch on some other stuff, but let's be serious. 2024 is taking over the podcast for the next 2 weeks. But before we get to that, how you doing, Vic?
Hello, Mary Katherine. I'm doing fine. Kate is back from her wonderful trip to Rome. We went to Dulles to pick her up, the whole family, because I think there's nothing...
Everyone loves a trip to Dulles.
Yes. And for the person coming back, I think there's nothing better than coming back to people who were there to greet you. Like there was a family, they had a sign, welcome back, you know, mom and dad and stuff. Really cute stuff, right? So there was that. But Dulles Airport. Let me just say this.
So let me just clarify.
Yes.
You went with the kids,
I did.
Parked, and went into the airport.
Parked, yep. That's $7.
That's a good husband.
That's commitment. Yeah, not outside waiting and, you know, then you have to go in circles and it's very stressful, the load.
Yeah.
We want to be inside. Even though I guess we could have done the alternative because she didn't have any she just, you know, she didn't check in any luggage, so I guess we could have done that. Nevertheless, we had time to kill, check out the airport. There's not much to check out in that main terminal. There is not much. So I think about other airports. I think about O'Hare, and I think about Newark or wherever. I know that Dulles' concourses, they have other options, if you will. But the main terminal is like that lower level where the doors open. People coming from around the world, right? Maybe to America for the first time,
right?
Let alone our nation's capital area. And they come in with the fluorescent lights and the low ceilings. And there are two places. There's a little cafe right where the door opens. And then there's a Starbucks. And that's eventually, that's about it. There is a couple convenience places.
Yes.
But that's it. There's no restaurants or anything. You go to the other places, there are big restaurants and bars. In the main terminal.
It is dour.
It's dour.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that was depressing, and I think they need to redo it. It was 1962. It was Eero Saarinen, who was a great Finnish architect who had designed it.
The outside is beautiful, actually. If you don't,
if
you don't associate it with Dulles trauma, the building from the outside is very pretty.
It's lovely, and I just want to. It reminded me of, you know, airport experiences in general. So when we went to visit my sister's in-laws in Holland, right? So you have to fly into Amsterdam, which is actually, it's outside. It's at the airport's called Schiphol.
Oh, I have been there. That's lovely.
People say Schiphol, and it sounds like something else, but it's Schiphol. And my sister warned us that her in-laws, who are lovely folks, they love going. They live far away, way down south, way down south, like, 2.5 hours. But that's the other side of the country,
right?
Near Rotterdam. They love the airport experience, right? And so my sister said, when we arrive, be prepared. They'll want to hang out a little bit at a cafe because Europeans like to linger. And especially for my mother, she's like, don't you just want to get out of the airport? We've been on a plane for like 7 hours or whatever.
It speaks well of your airport. I think I might have been through that one before.
Yeah.
And it is nice.
It is.
It has a good vibe.
It has a good vibe. Cafes. It's European. It's a cafe. So as soon as we get our luggage, we're dragging it. Hey, come on. Great to see you. Now let's sit down at a cafe. And I remember having a cup of coffee because, you know, you're all sort of out of whack. It's early morning.
Yeah.
And what they call Sazayenbroodje, which is the sausage that's baked into the roll.
Oh, I mean, that sounds great.
And that was my entry into Holland, and that's how they roll, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have that.
No.
That's all I'm going to say, and I think we need to do better.
The only cool thing about being inside Dulles is that it still has that 1982 Tron font everywhere.
Yes, that's
I think
it's the Tron font.
If I were going to redo Dulles, I would just go full Tron. Just make it all
Own
neon, and you're cruising around through a video game. That's what I would do.
Yeah. You know, that's the optimist in you. I think of it, and I'm thinking Logan's Run, THX 1138, dystopia.
Yeah, I mean, those people movers have a very dystopian feel.
People movers, which, by the way,
for those who don't know, this is hyper-local information.
Sorry.
For those who don't know,
it's very inside the Beltway.
Dulles Airport, which you may or may not have come in and out of at times, you have to get for certain terminals, you have to get onto a separate vehicle that's not really a bus or really a train or really anything. They call it a people mover.
Yeah.
It's this bizarrely shaped thing that's sort of like a bus, and it sort of just takes you over to another place across runways, by the way. I sometimes am like, do we have people mover traffic control, or are we good on this?
Yeah, how do they know who's good to go? Because intersections.
It feels very much like we're on the tarmac, and I'm not sure I want to be here in the people mover that doesn't go very fast. And then you go between terminals that way.
The key to the people mover, by the way, and it also is built on the suspension gears, right? So I mean, it goes up, it goes down.
It's a very strange shape.
It's like this weird futuristic 1980s style
Tron futuristic, yeah.
box on wheels. The key to the people mover is making sure you're at the right door, because you think you're in the front and suddenly you're in the back. It's over. Game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
I love it. I love it when you come back from across the country and it's like, we're going to make you go 3,000 miles plus 0.2 miles in the people mover.
Right. And you got to sit there because it's not leaving for 5 minutes. There's a little clock. Mary Katherine, how are you on the other hand?
I'm good. See, you were in the futuristic Tron world.
I was.
And I was on the frontier.
You were out there.
You
were in
camping.
Frontierland. See, it's a different part of Disney. I was in the Tron life cycle thing.
I was camping this weekend. On Friday night, I took the 2 oldest kids to a camporee. Now, a camporee is different from camping.
Or a jamboree.
I mean, same deal. A lot of people camping in one place.
Got it.
And I want to read you guys actually a very funny message that I got as an FYI about the camping before we went. Now, I haven't been camping in quite some time, actually. When I was young and crazy with my 2 children and a single mom, I used to take them camping because I had this idea that like I needed to overcome all challenges and I needed to be able to do things like that with them.
You're like Meryl Streep in The River Wild.
It was a little crazy. Like I probably shouldn't have taken them camping, but I did. And so it had been a while. And so we're getting ready for this camping trip and I'm looking up, what do we need? My husband is, well appointed when it comes to camping gear, so we didn't have to worry about that. But here's the note about the camping. It's at a fairgrounds because it's a lot of troops gathering together.
Okay.
Pro tip, bring noise-reducing earplugs and a sleep mask if you're a light sleeper. The camporee is loud at night. Okay, this makes sense because there's a lot of kids there. They're having fun.
Not loud animals, but loud
Yeah, they're
kids.
goofing. We get it. That's what I was expecting. Au contraire. There's a train that comes by like every hour. A Mexican restaurant within earshot may be playing loud music. There is a neighborhood of houses on the other side of the fence. Apparently, there's a motorcycle raceway nearby. There is a hospital with a heliport that must have a flight path directly over the fairgrounds. I'm not exaggerating. There will also be a few floodlights left on in the fairgrounds for security purposes.
So it's like you're just...
It's like a Monty Python skit.
Had you considered perhaps just camping out at the local high school football field?
During a game?
Game? With the lights on at night?
So I must say that this was an exaggeration. It didn't end up being problematic in this way, but I read that message and I was like, wow, we're really back to nature. Back to nature out there. So we go out. Steve provides us with a very nifty tent. It's a cot tent. So you set up a cot and then the tent goes over the cot. So we're not on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would
the other
prefer
suckers.
That. Yeah.
We're above the ground. But it was quite Spartan. It's a 2-man tent, basically, very small. There were 3 of us, but like, I don't mind bunking up with girls. And everyone's like, sort of checking out our cool gear.
Yeah.
But everyone else has like sort of palatial tents and much bigger than ours.
Okay.
Not palatial, but larger than ours. But I was satisfied that we would have like some nice heat in there. We'd be comfy. It got down to the 30s. So I would just like to congratulate us for sticking it out and doing a good job.
Yes.
The girls were tough. I was trying to be tough. Once my feet are cold, I really can't recover. I have some issues with that. I'm like, come on, man. They don't warm back up. So I was having some issues with that. But the most problematic part of the night was that I woke up at about 2 a.m. and I was trying to figure out if I was just being anxious because I felt like I was breathing weird. And I was
Oh,
like,
and you start listening to your own breathing.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse.
yes. And then you're thinking about your
Yes.
breathing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm being silly. This is silly. There'd be no reason I'd be breathing weird. And then my kid wakes up next to me and she says, Mom, I'm breathing heavy. And I said, okay. So I do this, I leave the Frontier Days and Google on my phone
Uh-huh.
what's going on.
Right.
And it just occurs to me, like, is it possible that this tent is so small with 3 people in it, really clamped down for warmth, that we CO2'd ourselves?
Wow.
So I vent the window over us because it was quite cold. I vent the window, so we'll be cold, but we'll filter this out a little bit. My daughter's like, maybe we need a plant in here.
Yes, like you're on a space station. You need some sort of apparatus to create oxygen.
So it turns out we went a little too far looking for warmth.
Okay.
Vented that window.
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes later, we're both asleep again because we're not, starving for oxygen.
Yes.
So,
Sleep in a good way.
well done, us.
Yes. The other thing you could have done is just a pro tip is sleep in your car with the engine on in a garage.
Right.
And the window down.
That would work out
that
great.
would work out.
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing, again, middle of the night math, where you're like a little anxious about it and you're like, there's
good for
there's
you.
no carbon monoxide here. That's not an issue. But there is carbon dioxide, and
Yes.
that was the problem.
And also, sometimes you could tell with moisture in the air if it gets very sort of
yes,
damp.
and it was quite
There you go.
dewy on the.
Yes.
It didn't rain, but it
Yes.
was.
No, that's from you.
And anyway, we made it through, guys.
Man.
I was proud of them. We had fresh popcorn over the campfire.
Outside.
Yeah, you forget how good it is when it's just nice and fresh and not much to it, just a little salt on there.
Yes, it's so different than the bag of popcorn.
It was fun.
Good
Oh,
for
and then one more thing. I taught a class because at the camporee you get badges, right? And you can work on your badges and you get instruction. So I go out there and I volunteered to teach a class on aviation. Do I know anything in particular about aviation? No. But I go out there and I sort of glance at the posters and read the posters, and I know some things about the Wright brothers. I'm from North Carolina. And I'm supposed to give a 20-minute presentation going through the information on these posters. So I do so. I'm asking questions. I'm telling jokes. We're doing the thing. And my fellow leader is like, that's good. Do you know a lot about aviation? And I said, oh, no. But a thing I am good at is synthesizing a lot of information quickly and pretending I'm an expert.
Yeah, yes. Translation, I am a journalist.
Yes.
We're like actors. Just brush up on something
Let me-
and then we'll become an expert in it.
Let me tell you guys what I know about aviation. So anyway.
So it was about the Wright brothers.
I taught the children about
Wow.
the principles of flight. Anyway, it was a successful camporee.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Very Katharine.
Well, I felt pretty proud. Okay. Shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Speaking of telling jokes, having a good time, I want to talk a little bit today about people having fun on the campaign trail.
You mean Kamala Harris and the politics of joy?
I actually don't mean that. In these closing 2 weeks of the election, it appears that one Donald Trump is having a lot of fun on the trail. And this has become a problem for some of the people covering this race. First, I want to talk about the Al Smith dinner also, because I don't think we've covered that. But
Part
before,
and parcel is
that's a little older. So before we get to that, I want to do the McDonald's
the big
thing.
stuff.
McD's. We're gonna have a week-long news cycle about McDonald's, and I could not be happier about it.
I'm loving it. Sorry, Paul.
Well done.
Do you remember what? By the way, do you remember what was in the 80s? Do you remember what the catchphrase was?
I don't.
It's a good time for the great taste.
Oh,
McDonald's.
that's nice.
Yes.
I'm loving it. It's been in place for.
I'm loving it. Is great, and they have that funny little tune jingle at the end. And
Ba, ba,
Brian
ba, ba,
Cox
ba.
of Succession became the voice
Oh, really?
in the end, and he goes. Ba, 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 ba. It was really funny.
I didn't know that.
And they do it, by the way, in case you're wondering, in other countries, it's the same phrase. So when I go to in Germany, for example, the McDonald's, ich liebe es.
It
It has
sounds,
such a nice ring to
again,
it.
mellifluous, that language.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so y'all have heard the story, because everyone's heard the story. Donald Trump went to a McDonald's and worked the fry machine, put orders together, took orders, handed out orders at the drive-thru. This is a pretty normal campaign event, right? You put on the apron, you dish up some food. This is a thing that people do.
Flapjacks,
Diners,
remember that's the flipping
at
of
fast food joints.
skillets.
This is a particular troll of Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris has said that she worked at a McDonald's. It's her only sort of working class cred, service industry cred in her resume. She has never produced any evidence that this happened.
And she only began to mention it in 2019.
2019. McDonald's can't produce evidence of this because they have franchises. They don't keep close track of these things. But many, many, many people have worked at McDonald's. So it is entirely possible. But she has never, ever offered anything other than I worked there. So Trump, trolling her, has said, did she work at McDonald's? So he goes to McDonald's in Pennsylvania. And he does this event where he's being instructed by an employee there. He's dipping the fries, doing the thing. When you work on a campaign, your job is to put your candidate in a situation where they can be the best version of themselves and maybe even defy expectations.
Yes.
And if that's the measure of an event, this one was off the charts. Off the charts, and the reaction to it made it even more successful, which we're going to get to. But first, let's talk about him at McDonald's.
It's an indicator that it has to be the greatest troll of all time. I really think that. And I want to give props to the Free Beacons, Andrew Kerr and Joe Simonson. They wrote that initial piece questioning. All they were doing is raising questions. It raises questions. If she's talking about it now suddenly, what do we know about that experience? And they just delved into it. And what they learned is what we just mentioned. She didn't mention it until 2019. They changed the story about, she worked at the McDonald's in Oakland. Actually, it was Alameda. And she worked there to put herself through college. And then they changed it to, no, it was just a summer where she just needed to, earn some extra cash. And then our reporters then talked to one of her biographers, who then told the Free Beacon, I'd never heard of this before. Which is kind of funny because most politicians like to brag about that sort of, blue-collar, working-class experiences that they once
it's
had.
one of those things like
Glenn Youngkin working, at a restaurant.
Right.
For
it's one of those things where, like, if there's a pick, you're going to see the pick.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a great line in the New York Times, and we're going to get to the media freak out in general, but I love this one. This is the New York Times piling onto him, but the point they make here is, whether a presidential candidate actually flipped burgers as a college student is a far less serious allegation, of course. But Mr. Trump's seeding of doubts about Miss Harris's story, while insidious and outside the lines of traditional fair play in politics, advances his goal of portraying Miss Harris as a fraud. There is nothing outside the lines of traditional fair play in politics about looking at a person's resume and saying, did you really do these things?
Mary Katherine.
That's crazy.
Mary Katherine, I disagree. When George W. Bush was in the Texas Air National Guard, I don't think anybody questioned that.
We didn't hear anything about that.
No, not at all.
That's actually questioning people's resumes and seeding doubts about them is actually politics.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yeah. And also what journalists are supposed to do are look into these things and not run cover for them.
No. So he's at McDonald's and he is having a grand old time.
Oh my gosh.
I'll just play a little clip. This is one of the customers who, were vetted by the Secret Service.
Yeah.
This was a planned event. We're going to get into that in a second, but here's one of the customers coming up.
A lot of fun here, everybody.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Look at all the fake news over there. Hello, everybody.
You can fake this,
And
right?
you know this is compliments of Trump, okay?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Mr. President,
Yes.
please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil.
We'll keep it good.
Please.
We're going to make it better than ever, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Mr.
Compliments
President.
of Trump.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you over there. Have a good time.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see
You
you.
too.
Bye,
Nice to
darling.
see you.
Have a good time. Thank you.
Just a sweet Brazilian American mom with
Yes,
her family
that's
talking
right.
about how we can't turn
Yeah,
into
yeah,
Brazil.
don't be like Brazil.
He's shaking her hand. The next car that comes up is an Indian American
Yes.
family where he was very
And he was
sweet.
so grateful. He was so grateful. And just look at me. I'm going like this. Oh, Mister. I'm not going to do an impression. Don't worry. Don't get nervous. But he was so genuine, and it was heartfelt. And I know, again, like you said, these people have been vetted. I understand there's some sort of a lottery system that said who gets to get the free delivery, that goes through the drive-through with Donald Trump. I understand it because, again, people have tried to kill this president.
Yeah.
So they're not just going to have him. This is an undercover boss, right? What? He's here all this time. Oh, I didn't know that was the CEO. It's not one of those Jimmy Fallon shticks where they do on top of the rock where, people are posing and then he's, standing behind them with Chris Evans or whoever. Surprise. And everyone goes crazy.
Here's another quick one. I believe this is the car coming up behind.
I could do this all day. I wouldn't mind this job. I like this job. I think I might come back and do it again.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Mr.
Look at that. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice to see you.
You made it possible for ordinary people like us to meet you.
You're not ordinary.
I mean, thank you so
You
much
are
for
not
everything you're
ordinary.
doing.
I can see.
We pray for you, and you are the type of person we want to be the president.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So nice. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Yeah, I took a bullet. That's right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
When you think about it, I guess that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I mean, it's sweet. It's sweet. And you don't expect him to be sweet, which is why this is effective.
This is why it works, because he has this connection. And you're trying to imagine how Kamala would be. And she deals with people all the time, too. And she also deals with child actors, like when she did that, promotion for outer space. She was talking about outer space, and they had child actors, which they didn't tell anybody. That was found out later. This is what's driving them nuts, though,
Yes.
because you watch these clips, and they know in their heart of hearts that it's very effective. It's killing them.
Well, and they also know that, look, we all know that I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris in general, although we were the charter members of her fan club. It's been a while. The stakes are higher now. If she were in this position, it would be stilted. It would be unfun. It wouldn't work. He's in here like tossing salt over his shoulder and explaining that he's superstitious.
Yeah.
And he's having a good time with it. How crazy did it drive people? Oh, let me share with you.
Yeah.
This is a Newsweek headline.
Oh, my gosh.
Was Donald Trump's McDonald's shift staged? During a campaign stop in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, former President Donald Trump visited McDonald's and learned how to make fries at a branch in Festerville, Trevose. I don't know. It's in Bucks County.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those collar counties around Philadelphia. Very important. Yeah. On Sunday, the Republican presidential nominee held an impromptu press conference through the drive-thru's window. Trump, known for his love of fast food, used the opportunity to attack Harris over claims she never worked at a fast food chain during her college years. The vice president has previously said she worked at McDonald's. However, rumors have been circulating on social media that Trump's visit to McDonald's was staged. According to a post on Reddit, a signed letter placed on the storefront by Derek Giomantonio. I apologize, Derek, for not knowing how to do your last name. The unit's manager said, "We plan to be closed on Sunday, October 20th until 4 p.m. to accommodate a visit at the request of former President Trump." The intentional obtuseness of the press corps on this. This is a campaign event. Yeah. This is a campaign event with
it's a photo op
with a high-risk target who has been almost assassinated twice. So yes, they didn't let random McDonald's customers come through the drive-through on this occasion. Great investigative work. Pulitzers for everyone. Yeah. Amazing stuff.
I was thinking also, Mary Katherine, it's a good thing that she mentioned that she worked at McDonald's and did the fries and didn't say, "Oh, I worked at a Sweet Green." I know Sweet Green didn't exist at the time. And I know people we have friends who are investors or partners and whatever. Great. I'm making a joke because Trump would not do the salad.
No,
that's my point. Is you can imagine him dishing up salad and saying, "Oh, more extra kale. I like extra kale." He's not going to do that. So it worked out that it was McDonald's because that is really up his alley. He did an old McDonald's ad a long time ago. The other thing is, Mary Katherine, he's very effective at this because he's done this before. If you go to YouTube, you could find, before he became president, he did one of these
Undercover
stunts.
boss type thing.
Yes, where he said he wanted to learn what the people at his hotel, I don't know which hotel it was, do, what their day is like.
Yeah.
And they had a camera there, and he did everything from walking a dog to being a valet or a bellboy to doing housekeeping
Right.
with this woman who works at housekeeping. And he's very funny every step of the way, like a butler, and helping with that with guests, and they ate it up at the time.
Yeah.
So he has that charm. Again, and this is, I can understand, if you don't like the guy, you don't want to vote for the guy, but watching it, it's hard not to like this sort of interaction with the staff and with the people, obviously, in line. I know it was only for 15 minutes. It was like maybe 5 cars, but, it worked.
Well, and apparently there's like an hour of footage of him working behind the
thing.
scenes.
Yeah.
There's also this picture of him leaning out of the drive-through, waving, and he's got the red tie with the blue and yellow apron. It is the poster that, if he wins, should be at Dulles to welcome people to the country.
Yeah, like normally they have the picture of the president and the vice president, right? It's an official portrait. You said you want it to be him in the apron.
In the apron, waving, "Hi, welcome to."
Yeah.
But it is
Billions served.
That picture of him leaning out of the drive-through window looks like if you gave AI a prompt of just like America 2024.
It looked AI. It looked AI. And here's the other thing I wanted to say, Mary Katherine, which is when that story broke, when Joe Simonson and Andrew Kerr did the story, anticipating some sort of a pushback and saying, aha, we have it.
We have the evidence.
They never did. And not only that, but she could have headed this off at the pass for the next month and a half by maybe visiting the McDonald's that she worked at in Alameda, if it was still there, or another one. She cannot do it now. That's the problem.
Nope.
And that's what's really getting them so angry in the media, too, is he stole it from her. And if she did it now, it would look so bad.
Tim Walz said on The View that it was disrespectful to McDonald's workers.
It's insulting.
For him to be there. I'm going to read some tweets for you guys from Seth Abramson, who I believe embodies the wrong-headed anger over this. Perhaps no stunt in the history of U.S. politics deserves more ridicule than the grotesquely embarrassing mummery Trump put on at a Pennsylvania McDonald's today. The whole country got shittier because of this.
Wow.
The McDonald's was closed. The customers were fake. Trump did nothing. There's a whole thread. It goes on.
Yeah.
He's very angry about this.
I have a question for you. Mummery? It's like the Mummers Parade. Also very Philadelphia related.
Yes, maybe he's targeting a specific.
They don't do that. It was a questionable parade. Go ahead.
I think they still do. The Mummers are out.
But certain costumes, I think, are no longer acceptable.
Being this angry about this has created several days of engine for this run-of-the-mill campaign stunt that he did a good job at, but would have been done if you had just ignored it.
Right.
Now we're on day 3. And by the way, as you noted, he's done an ad in the past for McDonald's. This is from the early 2000s with Grimace. Let's hear a little bit of that.
I don't know how you do it. I put together some really impressive deals. But this thing you've pulled off, it's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret?
Got a buck? You're in luck. Because you can get a delicious beefy big and tasty, a McChicken sandwich, and lots of your other favorites on McDonald's Dollar Menu every day.
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
Which is, by the way, is an amazing deal at the time.
Everyone's talking about McDonald's. Everyone's tweeting about what they like about McDonald's.
And I know people who are going there like, oh, I'm so hungry for McDonald's now. Even people who hate Trump are like, oh, man, I could use those fries.
Guy went and got some fries because you're watching the fries all day online.
Yeah, Matt Lewis is talking about it. Oh, man, I need those fries.
This ad is like retro and fun. He's hanging out with Grimace. They're looking out over the New York skyline together. Yeah. It reminds you what you could get for $1 in the early 2000s, which is maybe something they don't want out there. And then McDonald's released a statement, very cool, that was like, we have franchises everyone is welcome in our restaurants.
Everyone is welcome.
Kamala Harris is more than welcome at various places. So I appreciated that they were just like, yeah, this is how McDonald's corporate understands how campaigns work better than the political press, apparently.
Right.
So anyway, we're going to keep going because now the ad's going to go viral. They're going to get even more mad about the McDonald's thing. And it's just going to...
And it forces people to then look into it and look at social
watch the
media and
video.
the streaming and watching the videos. If it's true that people are getting most of their news now from the internet and from social media, then it speaks for itself.
I hope you talk about McDonald's for 2 weeks. I swear.
It is really, and it is good. I will say the fry. If you can eat the fries in the first 5 minutes, they're the best fries in the world. If you eat it in the first 5 minutes.
We've done this before, but just as a thank you for McDonald's for being normal and putting out a normal statement about this. What is your go-to order?
This is really very personal, so I don't know if I want to discuss it here. But okay, fine. If I've had a little bit to drink, it would be a surf and turf, which I've created on my own. And that would be a quarter pounder with cheese. If I've had a lot to drink, it's going to be a double quarter pounder with cheese, which somebody else is driving or I'm walking to, which I've walked to. I've hit rock bottom
through the
a few
drive-thru.
times. Yes, walked through the drive-thru. So a double quarter pounder with cheese because they make it fresh.
Right.
And a fish fillet. Which
Nice.
Fish fillet, the cheese is on the bottom. It's not on the top, which is also a very important thing. And it's a half a slice of cheese. That's half a slice of American. That tartar sauce is better than any tartar sauce you'll find. Duke's is pretty good, but it's an excellent tartar sauce, and it's a sugar bun. And then fries, of course.
It's good stuff.
And a Diet Coke, because, I'm conscious about
Well, you want to be careful.
What about you, Mary Katherine?
Well, I will just say I'm with you. Quarter pounder with cheese is my normal go-to, but if I'm feeling like I need a
so
feast,
much salt. Yeah.
if I need a feast, double quarter pounder with cheese, add mayo, extra pickles, upsize the fries, Coke. Regular Coke, because I ain't trying to play like I'm healthy.
Okay, wait, hold on.
In fact,
now.
I ate one of those before we went camping. That whole thing, that's what I ate.
I'm still
you gotta
processing.
stock up for the winter,
I'm
in the 30s that night.
Yeah, like a bear.
Like a bear.
I've never had mayo at McDonald's in a sandwich unless it was maybe one of those,
I think I'm an outlier.
promotional things like a McDLT or something.
I think I'm an outlier, but I like to add some.
because that's like Burger King territory. Burger King is mayo and tomato. So McDonald's currently has a $5 special, and despite that, Liz Warren is now saying, accusing McDonald's of price gouging.
Oh, get
How
outta here.
convenient.
Get out of
How
here.
convenient.
By the way, I just want to shout out Cenk Uygur, who I weirdly agree with a lot of the time now, who's from the Young Turks.
I
He's
didn't know
a
how to pronounce
liberal
his
guy.
name. Okay.
He said, some in the press called Trump's McDonald's photo op bizarre. This is how you lose credibility. That was a home run photo op. He looked like a real person there connecting with the average American. If you can't see that, you're totally blind. And I think he nails it.
Yeah,
And
and they're in
again,
trouble because
they're taking an effective photo op and turning it into a more than a home run.
Yeah.
By just going on and on about it. But the point is, like, this is a person having fun, which is a vibe that you want to have, if I may use the vibes as a gauge, in the last 2 weeks of a campaign, because late breakers famously want to vote for a winner.
Right.
And sometimes they turn toward the person who looks like they're winning.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, on the other hand, not having as much fun on the trail.
No.
They have put her out there a lot more. She, like I said, I think they're a little bit in a doom loop where she's not impressive when she goes out there, so they have to put her out there again, and that's not impressive either. Yeah. And look, she's going to be graded on an unimpressive curve, just as Trump is graded on a crazy curve.
Yes.
Like, deviation from the unimpressive or crazy mean is what we're judging.
Right. Not normal person and normal person.
No.
Neither. Okay.
So she has some room for error, quite a bit, actually. But I think, again, the vibes are off because at the Al Smith dinner, which is this very big Catholic charity dinner in New York, white tie dinner.
It's the white tie dinner.
Crazy, dressy, all the important people up on the dais.
Yes.
Schumer's there. Letitia James is there.
Yeah. And it's hosted by I guess the diocese. It's the Catholic dinner.
Right.
The big
So
Catholic dinner.
you're supposed to go there and you're
Cardinals
supposed to
there.
do some jokes. Is it kind of a roast situation? And Trump showed up and did his jokes, which were quite funny. I'm actually I'll play a little bit of his jokes for you so you can hear side by side what they did. Here he goes.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Waltz. Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas. That's right, they've reserved many rooms, a lot of rooms, too many rooms. White dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White dudes for Harris. Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me.
Is the Cardinal like...
Yeah, no, yes, Cardinal Dolan, His Eminence. I missed that joke.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He also did one about Schumer, his parties. He's like, right. Schumer's here looking very glum. Very glum, because Schumer's sitting right next to him. He's like, luckily for you, your party's so woke now, you could, if she doesn't win, you could have a chance to be the first woman president of the United States.
So here's what's interesting, Mary Katherine. Number one, to go back to what you were saying about sort of the politics of joy, and this is how they feel about, you can sense that momentum on Trump's side. At least he looks like he's having fun. Where you imagine there's some sort of great internal struggle within the Harris-Walz campaign right now, and nobody looks happy and extremely stressed. And we know what it's like. People have spoken about what it's like to work for her. I was reminded in the 1996 campaign for Clinton versus Bob Dole. And obviously Clinton in 92, of course, Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow and this whole thing. And in 96, I remember towards the very end, Bob Dole, God bless him, was yelling, "Where is the outrage? Where is the outrage?" Yeah. And I got it, and I understood, and I felt that way. But that wasn't winning. That's not a winning message.
No, sometimes you're right to be annoyed.
Near that.
Like I sort of understand being annoyed that Trump's at McDonald's and it's working.
Yeah.
I just would shut my mouth about it a little bit more if I were them. So on the other side of the coin, Kamala Harris did not show up.
Why is that? What do you think?
She can't do it. She can't deliver. I think even with the best joke writers, which she would have had
at her disposal,
she would have had the best. Michael Che will show up and write your jokes for you, right? SNL, no problem. She can't deliver. Yeah. And Trump is quite good at this particular kind of thing.
Yes.
So I think they thought maybe that contrast was
minus
good.
a teleprompter. I think that was a big deal for her.
Yes, because you can only have notes at this dinner, correct?
Yeah.
So here she is in a video that she sent in. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you guys because...
Cool. Oh, sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary Katherine Gallagher. Mary Katherine Gallagher. It's so nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Mary Katherine. Right now I'm trying to record my speech for tonight's dinner.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want to say that I'm Catholic, and tonight is one of the biggest dinners next to the Last Supper.
It is a very important dinner, and it's an important tradition that I'm so proud to be a part of.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I stick my fingers under my arms and I simmer them like that. But that's gross.
I'll laugh a minute, guys. Look, he's like, Mary Katherine Gallagher is such an old character that people don't even mention her when they meet me anymore.
Was there a Mary Katherine Gallagher moment for you?
I mean, look, perhaps I'm biased on this clip because I'm triggered because I went through a period of my life of about 10 years where people would stick their hands into their armpits and sniff them in front of me, and I found that off-putting. I don't enjoy thinking about your armpits while I'm meeting you for the first time. And normally a less aggressive version was just like, oh, like Mary Katherine Gallagher. Yes.
Okay.
That's
but
fine.
some people did the full thing.
Some people did the full thing. Or a superstar pose. That's actually less offensive than the armpit thing. But anyway, I got a lot of armpit baggage after this. So just take that into account.
Yeah.
But this isn't enjoyable.
No, it's not. And I love how she mentions that she's so honored to be a part of it. She's not a part of it because she wasn't there.
And I just think, again, like the McDonald's thing, this is a chance to be something that people don't expect you to be.
Right.
And you're given license at this dinner to be a little mean, to be a little funny, to cut loose. Some of the most humanizing moments have come at these dinners. I believe Mitt Romney made a self-deprecating joke about how white tie was a dress down night for him and his wife.
He was genuinely funny, and Barack Obama was funny because he talked about, and this is the 2012 dinner, he talked about Mitt Romney, that Mitt is not actually his, Mitt is his middle name.
Right.
And then Obama goes, I wish I could use my middle name. It's genuinely funny. But in this case, Jim Gaffigan, by the way, was the MC, right? Jim Gaffigan, who is now playing Tim Walz on Saturday Night Live, a great comedian, fellow Hoya.
Is he really?
Yes, from Georgetown.
You guys.
So he's Catholic. And he made a joke. He said, after that video clip of Kamala, he said, now I know how my kids feel when I zoom into their recitals. Yikes.
Yikes. He made a couple jokes at her expense.
Oh, yeah.
And he is a practicing Catholic who is a left-leaning comedian, but a clean comedian, like a person who appeals to middle America.
Right.
This is the Romney joke, by the way. A campaign can require a lot of wardrobe changes. Blue jeans in the morning, perhaps. Suits for lunch fundraisers. A sport coat for dinner. But it's nice to finally relax and wear what Ann and I wear around the house.
That's good.
Good.
It's very good.
Good. Anyway, it's a good opportunity to be something unexpected. And she never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
These are missed opportunities.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 weeks left from this recording.
Yes. Can I also add that Elon Musk is having a lot of fun on the trail?
Yeah. What's he up to?
Well, he says he's going to give away $1 million to somebody at each rally who has signed his Constitution pledge. Several people have gotten $1 million, guys. Like, that's happening.
Is there are there some legal implications?
Well,
is there some concern here?
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Here's the interesting thing. Do we remember any deep dives or fact checks on the idea that Kamala Harris was going to give away $20,000 to black men? Do we remember any questions about the legality of that aside from us? No. But there is some fact checking on Elon Musk. And I would just like to say that now we're in full bread and circuses and just giving people free money. The obviously morally corrector position is to give away your own money and not other people's. The press is like, doesn't he know you're only allowed to do that with taxpayer money?
Right.
You can't be giving out $1 million of your own money.
Well, it's funny because that plan that Kamala Harris had in order to boost the black male vote for her, which she's down. Again, it's still a considerable lead over Trump.
Oh yeah, it's just a red flag.
Yes. They've had to dial it back as they begin to realize that when they get into the details of giving away, sort of like forgivable loans.
It turns out all colors have to be eligible.
Yeah, it's kind of illegal and unconstitutional to do that. And also, again, and we mentioned this on a previous episode, it's also offensive because, hey, you know what? I want to win your vote, and let's see, we're going to give you, you don't have to pay back the loan, and also pot. Yeah. Because remember, and she wants
drugs, right?
You like drugs, right? So we're going to give that to you. And she did say once about how smoking pot, it lets a lot of people be joyful.
Okay.
So.
Can I also play just a little bit of Elon Musk telling a story about overregulation, where the federal government made his company do a study about whether his rockets would hit sharks or whales when they landed, and he's like, I don't know, it's a big ocean. Like, I feel like we'll probably be okay. And like, what surface area of the ocean is whale? Mm-hmm. And then he says, will you give me the information that you guys have on shark and whale density? And they're like, no. And so, anyways, it's a ridiculous story, but there's one line about the whales that I just want to play for you guys.
But they wouldn't let us proceed with launch until we did this crazy shark data. And then we thought, okay, now we're done. And they said, but what about whales? I'm like, when you look at a picture of the Pacific, what percentage of the surface area of the Pacific do you see as whale? Because look at a picture, I don't see any, it's like, where's a whale? And honestly, if the ship did hit a whale, it's like, honestly, that whale had it coming, because it's like the odds are so low. It's like Final Destination, the whale edition. It's like fate had it in for that whale,
By the way, that's a deep pull. Final
me up.
Destination.
It cracked me up, and cracking people up in the final stages of a campaign is a good thing to do. And his point about over-regulation is important. So anyway, that's what he's doing. They're also Trump's at the Steelers game.
Okay.
They are fighting with former NFL players. Trump had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the stump with him. She's gathering Jerome Bettis and is it Mean Joe Green? He's going to join with her.
Legends of the gridiron.
Trump went from his gig as a McDonald's worker, totally organic, part-time side hustle he has, which is what the press expects, to the executive suite over at the fancy suite over at the Steelers game.
The Steelers, yes, which I used to. It's not Three River Stadium. It's like, which I think they blew up, I guess, eventually. But it's like Acrisure.
It is Acrisure, which
Acrisure.
Is such a
that is a
name.
terrible name.
Yeah.
That is a terrible name. It's in any event. You can say all you want about the people in the drive-through being vetted, so they're all Trump supporters or whatever, and that the restaurant was closed down. You cannot say that the spontaneous sort of breaking out of the chants for Trump at the Steelers-Jets game was all actors.
Right.
They're people, and that's, again, we're trying to figure out these polls, Mary Katherine, and they're in different directions. Things seem to be generally going in Trump's direction, but that's a pretty interesting gauge in Pittsburgh at a football game to have that going on, because a lot of times politicians get booed.
And also, the chant was USA, right?
Yeah.
And it was booming. Now, some liberals have noted that in the shot that the Trump campaign put up, there were a couple people flicking him off from the stands, which I say, yay, free speech.
Yeah.
Isn't it great we live in a country where you can do that to a guy running for president? But the chant is USA. And if USA is the response to Trump, and if that's a right-coded chant now, I think that's not great for Democrats.
Right.
By the way, I want to just read a great quote from a local paper was covering this event and tailgaters and what they thought of the politics surrounding this game. By the way, there was a banner reading "Trump and Jets fans, both jagoffs from NYC, flown over." And then most tailgaters weren't too keen to talk politics with a reporter on a beautiful October day.
Yeah.
Americans, way to go. Excuses ranged from, my boss doesn't know I'm taking off for this game, to, I've got a job where I can't talk about it, to, I'm not into politics. USA. What a great group.
It is the
fans.
it's the obsession of tell us who you're voting for. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't have a position? You have to have a position.
Good for those guys.
Okay.
As you noted, yes, a lot of the polling indicators have started to tick a tiny bit in his direction, whether it's the aggregation of polls, whether it's the weighted polling models from Nate Silver and 578, swing states, national, whatever it is, they do seem to be, I'm going to say ticking, not like, it's not a surge in that direction, but I do think it's a little bit worrisome for them. And I just want to play one clip of...
He's peaking at the right time.
This is... Network News evening broadcast introducing the 2024 game setting report that they're doing.
Okay.
Let me just play you Miss O'Donnell bringing this in.
Election Day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
That's
the news.
That's the straight news intro.
No, again, there's Margaret Sullivan, the former ombudsman of the Post, and I say this all the time, could not be happier by Elizabeth, because she would say, yes, mainstream anchor is finally taking sides because democracy is at stake.
Right.
There's good and there's evil. You got to take a stand. and she's taking a stand. And forget about reporting on both sides what they're doing and trying to be neutral. Neutral is so passé. We have to be, this is a battle, and but the only issue is, how do you know which side is right and wrong? Well, we will decide that. Nora O'Donnell will decide that.
So can I just...
Whoever writes her thing, because she's just reading this thing, she's not going to be there for long, as you know.
It's an embarrassment. They can't be embarrassed, but that's embarrassing. By the way, this Arnold Palmer thing is he shows up at Arnold Palmer Airport.
Yeah.
And he apparently references some urban legend or longtime rumor about the size
of his member.
Yeah. Of Arnold Palmer. So, but this is
Milton Berle.
This became a big thing. Look, do I think it's the best look to be talking about that? No, I do not. But can I remind everyone, like, people have been asking about this on news shows over and over and over again.
Right.
Like, it's a huge story.
Obsessed. This is it. We got him now.
We got him.
He's on the ropes.
Barack Obama on the DNC stage made a joke about the penis size of Donald Trump.
Right.
But this is the real problem.
They're not in a position. They're also not in a position to talk about and questioning his sort of cognitive abilities.
Also, it sounds like it was complimentary, not even a mean joke.
Yeah. No, definitely complimentary. But they're not in a position to question this because they were covering for Biden until that debate. So, I mean, it's just like if they were... They're just not in a position. So I'm going to say, Mary Katherine, I think we're about to hit your wall here.
We are. Should we do just a very quick update on Israel? And we will get more into this, I promise. It's just that 2024 is colliding, is cascading upon us. So in Israel, in Rafah, it turns out, where the Biden administration, including Kamala Harris, told Bibi and the Israeli forces not to go, they tracked down, I believe it might have actually been an accidental encounter.
It was.
With Yahya Sinwar, who is the head of Hamas, who was found, he had surrounded himself with hostages to keep himself safe. He was trying to make cowardly deals where his personal safety was the thing that everything turned on. He had apparently on his person at the time of his death a passport, money, ways to flee his increasingly dangerous situation. But he got unalived by the IDF.
He had, it was $11,000 in their currency, and someone else's passport, which is very weird. And also, he had a pack of Mentos, because
Mentos.
Even terrorists need the fresh maker. That's the first thing. The second thing is, these guys, one of whom apparently who had perhaps gotten the kill shot was an Israeli who wasn't even in uniform last 10/7, and they were doing squad leader training. And they thought the area that they were in was already cleared out, and suddenly these guys come out, by the way, covered in blankets.
Yeah.
Everybody else in Gaza, you can't leave. You're going to be, here as martyrs and shields. I'm getting out of here.
Yep.
That's
but
it.
It's a huge win, and I will remind everyone that Kamala Harris had this to say about the battle in Rafah.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go. And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah who are there because they were told to go there, most of them.
Except for all the places that they were moved to.
Yes,
right.
they were indeed moved. Yahya Sinwar being dead is a victory not just for Israel, but for Palestinians who have lived under his reign of terror. And it actually is a chance. See, the thing is, sometimes killing the psycho who started the war can actually get you a better shot at peace than appeasing the psycho who started the war.
The New York Times interviewed a Palestinian who said exactly that and said that this was all his fault. If you look around at the rubble and everything that's laid waste and what Israel has done, it is because he started it on October 7. If Israel had followed the Biden administration's advice, Hamas would presumably still have the hostages, including American hostages. They'd still be in power, and it would be fighting to a draw, because that's what the United States does. And this is, again, very interesting, because this is what Trump has been saying for some time, right? He's tired of losing wars. He's tired of, fighting to a draw. Israel is done taking advice from the United States on this because they want to actually win, redraw that map, reset things, and actually establish peace.
Well, and they're also going to be done sharing information with us because there is a story that some battle plans against to go after Iran were leaked, stolen, put on Telegram for others to see. And I don't know if that's a counterintelligence thing that Israel's trying to smoke someone out. But we know that we have, according to Wall Street Journal reporting, Iranian-aligned intellectuals,
sympathizers,
propagandists in our government. Several of them are on leave because of security breaches.
Right. Robert Malley.
Yes. So this is information we've had for a while. I'd love if someone got fired over it, but we don't really do that in the Biden administration. But it seems very dangerous for our partnership. And I'm glad that Israel, it is unfortunate that Israel can't listen to the United States and partner in the same ways that we have in the past, but they're doing extremely competent work here.
Antony Blinken is there as we speak, trying to urge them, of course. You know, he's been talking to the Qataris, where the, Hamas leaders, a lot of them, live there in Qatar. And telling them, it's like they should have sent Antony Blinken over to, England and tell Winston Churchill, they're right at the break, and tell the Russians, they're right there. The bunker is right there. You can stop now. Let's keep them in power.
Why are we appeasing them? Go to the Qataris and say, into the line, guys.
You've made your point.
Into the line.
You made your point. You bombed Dresden. It's done now. Peace. Okay. That wraps up this episode of Getting Hammered. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, and you can follow me on Twitter at Victorino Matus.
I'm at MK Hammer on Twitter, at MK Hammer Time on Instagram. Follow the show at Getting Hammered Podcast on YouTube and Instagram. Thanks for getting hammered responsibly. I'm going to go get a quarter pounder with cheese. Add pickles, mayo. All right.
Ich liebe es.
Talk to y'all soon. This has been a Nebulous Media Podcast.